Italian Wine Podcast. Chin Chin with Italian wine people.
Hello, this is the Italian Wine Podcast. My name is Monty Waldin. My guest today is Vladislav Markin. Vladislav is multi-talented and multi-qualified. He was the best sommelier in Russia in 2013. In 2014, the best young sommelier in Russia. You're a graduate of the Inotria Wine School and you're a Via Vinitaly International ambassador. And you are certified AIS. What does AIS stand for, just to remind everybody?
This one is the Association de Sommelier Internationale, so like International Sommelier Association.
Mm-hmm. So you're based in Moscow right now.
Yeah.
Is that where you grew up?
No, actually, I'm from the region side. I'm from the quite small town, which is like about 500,000 of occupation, and it's called Penza. So I grew up there. I finished the main university there, and then I moved to Moscow for the wine school, for the Enotria, and then stayed there.
So why did you go from normal school to wine school? Why didn't you go to farm school or astronaut school?
It was like, to make the story short, it was it was a bit occasionally. I was working in the restaurant sphere for the 5 years at that moment, and I was the assistant of the waiter, then I was the waiter, then I was the manager, then I became the bartender, and then I got the responsibility for the wines, and I was absolutely out of any knowledges about the wines. So for me, there was like the French wines are the most prestigious for that moment and something like this. And so my manager told, like, you need to go to the wine school. And we picked the Enotria as one of the main wine schools. And I think it's really like the best wine school in Russia that we have for the moment. And during the education there, I decided like to stay with the wine. I was absolutely excited about the differences, about the quantities, about the grape varieties, about the regions, about the people who make these wonderful wines. And so I decided to link my life with the wine.
So you were studying whilst having a full-time job or full-time jobs. Did you manage to visit any foreign regions during the study time?
During the studying time, no, because it was like half of the year, 5 days a week, about 4 or 5 hours a day for the tastings, theory. Unfortunately, not that much of the practical side, so like how to be a sommelier, but mostly like theory. And so the visiting of the regions I was doing like by myself in the next future. So after finishing and after graduating, like in the next half of the year, I was already in France.
Okay, so you had no doubts at all. You knew what you wanted to do. You studied. You stuck with it, and your career path was forged at a very early age. Then,
yeah, it was really like first I was thinking to come back to the restaurant I was working in, and actually I talked with the manager and said, like, I'm really amazed with the wines, I'm really amazed with the Moscow, and I want to stay here. And he wasn't against this, and so everything got absolutely positive. And so I stayed in Moscow, and after the wine school, I got the job offer for a new restaurant and to be in charge of the wine and the wine portfolio for this restaurant.
But did you do any teaching? Once you were taught and you learnt and you passed your exams, and then did you become a teacher yourself?
Yes. Actually, I think after a year, I was already doing some classes in the same school, actually in the Enotria. And they gave me first just few just few classes for the practical side, like how to be a sommelier, how to make the wine list, how to decant wines, how to serve wines, how to work with the distribution companies, how to make the pricing for the wine list. And afterwards, I had already some theoretical classes for Italian wines, for French wines, and for the New World wines as well.
Of all the things that you learn as a sommelier, what was the most rewarding aspect of it to you? This idea of learning and then teaching.
Learning and then teaching. I think the main thing and like the best thing in this job is people, because you always meet different, interesting. Multi-sided people, and to speak with the winemakers, with the enologists, with the other sommeliers, with the clients in the restaurant. It's just amazing. I really love to communicate with the different people. That is why I think this job is absolutely suits for the people who love to conversate, who love to speak, who love to show your skills, and it's brilliant.
What is the thing that people studying like you've studied? Obviously, you did it very easily because you're obviously a very good student. For normal human beings, what is the most difficult part? The part they find most hard to grasp when they're learning what you did regarding being a sommelier?
I think the most difficult side is first of all the lack of time, because usually you're lacking of time, and sometimes you need to select between studying and working and seeing your parents, for example, or your friends, and doing some sports or doing some hobbies. So the timing is the main difficulty. The second thing I think is the opportunity to collect and to memorize, because some people they can read 10 times one article and can't focus on this and cannot fix the information which they just got. Some people, they just see the article and they remember everything till the last letter. So I think that depends on the memory and on your opportunities to memorize a huge amount of information about vintages, about producers, about regions, about hectares, about appellations, and all this stuff.
So 2015, you were studying the sommelier certification, AIS, and you were doing Vinitaly International Academy. How did that go? How do you stay focused on those similar but two different approaches?
The ASI was a big challenge because I first went for the ASI certification and I failed because of some theoretical side. I passed the practice side, the serving, the blind tasting, but the theory was a bit weak for that moment, because it was the first time I've seen the certification of the ASI, and it was really tough. There was so many themes and so many regions and countries which you need to be well educated. So I wasn't expecting to to spot, for example, Indian vineyards or Japanese vineyards in this certification course. So I wasn't prepared. The second time I went, it was much easier, because you already understand how to manage everything, how to be prepared for different questions and different sides, and like how to prepare about not only wines but also about spirits, about beer, about gastronomy, and so it was much easier. But anyway, it was really tough for me. I think ASI, it was the most toughest thing I was passing during the last time. With a Vinitaly certification, it was a bit easier and it was much funnier, because Stevie Kim, she always loved to tell this story how I have passed the certification for the Vinitaly ambassador, because she's telling actually the truth. Because all the time she was seeing me sitting in the bar, drinking the champagne and speaking with some other people or speaking with the bartender and not even learning but I don't know how I've just passed, because anyway, I was studying. For sure, it wasn't any joke, and wasn't going to Verona just to hang around and drink champagne in the bar. But I don't know. I was just taking all the information that the Ian D'Agata and other professors were giving. So for me, Italian wine is the most. It's just for me. I'm not saying that Italian wine is easy. For me, it's much easier to understand Italian wines than, for example, French or German wines. German is disaster. So I really love Italy. Italy is one of my most favorite countries. So I think it was much easier to learn what you love.
Yeah, I suppose that does help, doesn't it? And especially with Ian, there's a lot of jokes as well, some of which are non-repeatable. So when you're learning about tasting, for example, which a lot of people do find really difficult, when they know what the bottle is, it's easy. When they don't know what's in the bottle because they can't see the label, they find it very difficult. Do you have any particular technique in approaching blind tasting? Or even open tasting?
With the open tasting, it's easier. For me, actually, there is only one thing I always mention for the students and for the friends, that I'm mostly trying to concentrate on the taste of the wine, on the palate. Then for the aromas or for the color. So for me, is the biggest influence in the wine, open or blind, is the taste. So some people, they're always focusing on the aromas and trying to pick the wine in blind, for example, for the classic aromas or for the individual aromas. But I'm trying to focus on the taste, on the palate. For the blind, I always suggest to believe in yourself and to remember your first idea about the wine. So you take a sip and you just, you can have a like a miracle blink in your head, like, oh, I think this is Brunello di Montalcino, vintage 2009. I was drinking this wine and I really think that it's the same bottle, maybe just from another producer. So all the time I'm having a part in the blind tasting. I'm having this like miracle image of the wine or of the vintage or of the wine label of the exact wine. So I think you really need first just to remember any wine you have tasted which tastes similar to this wine. And usually some people, they are trying to take it more difficult, and they are trying to remember 10 wines which taste or smell the same as this blind wine that you're having in a glass. I think you need to decrease this number and just to think about one or two or three wines, but not about the dozen of wines which you have tasted and which look similar to this one.
So basically, in your idea, when you smell a wine and then you taste it, you're thinking it could drop into any one of a number of groups, but these groups have three members in the maximum.
Yeah.
To keep it easy. So okay, so sort of key smells or key textures or even key colors, I guess. I would imagine would be some of your criteria for what goes in that particular box, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because if you will remember, for sure, you will decrease the chance to pick the wine and to tell the truth, because you can remember the wine from all around the globe. And if you work, for example, for 10 years in the wine, you can, I don't know, it's just numerous of the wines you have tasted during the 10 years of working as the sommelier or as the wine educator. So you will have plenty of the variants to pick the wine. But if you will decrease this and think about of, I don't know, of three wines, of three particular different wines, and then just pick which one is much closer to the wine that you are having now. So everything will be done.
So just give us the names of some of the famous fine dining establishments you've been associated with over your career.
I was mostly working in Moscow, so I was trying to go abroad somewhere to have a short period or short practice somewhere. I was speaking with a few restaurants in London, but unfortunately, it's too complicated for Russians to have a a working visa to England, so we didn't made any experience with this. In Moscow, I had the really good job experience and fine dining restaurants. First I was working in the prestigious seafood restaurant, which called La Mare. They have the fantastic selection of the fish and seafood, and enormously great and enormously expensive wine list. So one of the best wines I have tasted, it was during the working experience in the La Mare. Then I was the head chef of the Kempinski Hotel in Moscow, and we had a brilliant chef from Austria. He was super talented, and he was again focused on the seafood and fish. I think he was doing the best bisque soup I have ever tasted. It was just amazing. All the time I remember this soup. It's just amazing. It's just brilliant. And then I had the experience with a chain of the restaurants called White Rabbit Family. And two of these restaurants, they are listed in the top 50 best restaurants of the world by Aquapana and San Pellegrino. It is the restaurant White Rabbit and the restaurant Selfie. And I was working in both of these restaurants. So if we would have a Michelin guide in Russia, I think these two restaurants would definitely have maybe one or maybe even 2 stars by the Michelin, because the chefs are super talented. They're focused on the local ingredients, on the local products, and they create fantastic dishes with the influence of the Russian cuisine as well, but also doing this in the European style. So it was a great experience, and they were super talented. Now we are friends, so still keep the contact.
So what about Russian cuisine? You mentioned some of the Russian dishes there, matching with Italian wine. Just give us a few of your favorite combinations.
We had during this period working with the White Rabbit family, we had the restaurant. It was called Kutuzovsky 5, or simply K5 by the address. And this was the restaurant of the emperor style of the Russian cuisine. So our chefs, they took the old books with the receipts, with the dishes which were served in the emperor time in Russia, and they recreated these dishes, and it was just stunning, because simply people think about the Russian cuisine that it is really heavy, that it's borscht, that is a lot of potatoes using for the sides or even as the main dish, that everything is hardly boiled, everything is super fried, so something like similar to the Alsatian cuisine or as the German cuisine. But the emperor style of the Russian cuisine, it was super delicate and super elegant by the taste. They used a lot of the game, they used a lot of the poultry, and everything was served like really closer to the French cuisine than for the German. So in that restaurant, we had all the wines from all around the world, and I really like how they have been doing the. I think we can call it some sort of crab dumplings. And the crab dumplings, they were served with a cream sauce. And I had a fantastic bottle of Curte Franca by Bella Vista. And it was the fantastic combination, because the same texture, the wine is quite oily, quite creamy. It is barrel aged, so it's the oak influence in the wine is quite pronounced, and the texture of the dish was just brilliant. So the combination was fantastic on this criteria of the creaminess of the butter. So it was just superb. Also, we had the deer, and they have been doing the like some sort of the filet mignon of the deer. And I had a bottle of Barolo of the vineyard Liste made by Borgogno. I think at that time I had the vintage 2009, and the combination was fantastic. There were some grilled vegetables on the side, and this like forest nuances, like autumn nuances, and having this brilliant expression of the Barolo. It was just amazing and super delicious.
So if we come to visit Moscow, what are the hidden gems or lesser known areas or activities places to visit besides the most obvious, well-known Moscow landmarks?
By the way, have you been in Moscow already or not?
Not yet, I'm afraid.
Yeah, because if you have been here, for example, 5 years ago, and if you will come now, you wouldn't be able to recognize the Moscow because everything is changing so fast, and Moscow is becoming really, really open for the tourists and for the foreigners, and the city is, it's really evolving and it's becoming more suitable for the pedestrians, for walking around, for sightseeing, for having a glass on the summer terrace, and it's becoming really, really beautiful year to year. I moved to Moscow like 8 years ago, and I see the pictures which I've done like 8 or 7 years ago, and I cannot recognize the same place now because really Moscow is there's some big changes coming over there. So there is so many activities, so many things to do, and if you would have to go to Moscow, please don't pick like 1 or 2 days. You need to come for a week at least because there are so many parks, there are so many restaurants, there are so many hidden bars, there are so many theaters, museums, and some other activities. You would have the super sharp agenda for a week, like to see just a tiny piece of Moscow, because you can go one day for the 86th floor of the Moscow city, is the area with the skyscrapers, and there are some restaurants which are located on the 84th or 85th floors. So you can have the panorama for the Moscow, and especially when it becomes darker, the lights turn on, and it's just, it's some sort of Hong Kong, some sort of New York, and it looks really similar. So many people we met during the FIFA Championship on 2018, and they were just completely amazed about the conditions of Moscow and how everything is look like there. So some people, they still think that we are having bears on the streets, but we mostly have summer terraces and wine bars and beautiful ladies and beautiful people and beautiful streets. So if you will have the opportunity to come, just take a week or maybe even few weeks to see everything, just because it's amazing.
And the best time of year to visit?
I think the best time is from starting from May till October, because anyway the winter is unpredictable. It could be really cold and windy and wet. So the summer period is much better for this, because the restaurants are opening the summer terraces, which are beautiful, which are having all these flowers, and it's just fancy and beautiful. Because the winter is crazy. It could be completely snowy, or it can be no snow on the next year. So it's like random.
And what are the Russian wine growing regions? Do you have any? And if so, what are their names?
Yes. We are having now the Russian wine, and we are having the like quite dynamic wine industry in Russia, because more and more wineries are opening year to year. And particularly, we are having two sides where all the wine regions are located. So the first one is Crimea, which was Russian side, then Ukrainian side, and it was like the historical place for the wine growing. Previously, it was the area for the making fortified wines like port wine, marsala, sherry, and something like this. They were even using these names on the labels: port wine, marsala, Madeira. It was against the rules of the appellations for sure. And the second area is like the Krasnodar region. So it's south of Russia, near the Black Sea. And there are some places which are Kuban, Gelendzhik are located, Rostov-on-Don. And now we are having like the situation that all the some sort of appellations there just now are added. So we don't have strict appellation rules now. So like how to treat the vineyards, which grapes you can use on this area, what is the yield, what is the minimum, what is the maximum yield, and everything like this. We are mostly focused on the territory and on exact place where the vineyard is located. So I think in a short future we will have some sort of appellation system in Russia as well, because our government is very, I think, very interested in promoting the brand of Russian wine.
Quite rightly, because internationally, wine has become, as you say, or as you suggested, an important sort of flagship for many countries. Obviously, Italy and France, etc., Germany. So why not Russia? So when the restrictions on movement from COVID stop, and you can get to Italy, where will be your first visit? You can only choose one.
That's the fair question, because I really hope that we would have the opportunity to come to Italy in the October, and I would definitely go to Piemonte to have the Tartufo Bianco and to have the white truffle with a nice Barolo or with a nice Barbaresco, because my favorite region in Italy is Piemonte. I really love this, and I have so many connections with this region and with the people from this region. I also like Alto Adige. I really love the wines from that region. I was on Sicily in this January. I actually spent the New Year Eve near Etna. And so I think I would love to go again to the Sicily, because I have fantastic memories of that period. But I think the first time I would go to Piemonte for sure, because having so many friends who are linked with the wineries or with the restaurants, and I really love Piemonte. I really love the Piemontese cuisine. I really love the people of this region, and I would love to go there.
Yeah, it's a very complex region to get to know. I think probably the Soms love the kind of the degree of difficulty as well, of course, of the food and wine pairings. But anyway, I want to thank you very much for coming on the Italian Wine Podcast today, telling us about your career. You literally knew nothing about wine, and you've become a very important person in the Russian wine scene, not just in your native country, but also abroad. And we wish you continued success, and we wish you Russia also its goodwill for its future wine region.
Thank you so much, Monty. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for fantastic questions. I was really with a great memories now, and remembering some trips and some people I have met in Italy. And just sometimes it's even cool to remember your background and your working experience and all these interesting things of the being sommelier in Russia, or sometimes not even in Russia. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, no problem. I hope to see you in Verona sometime, if not in Moscow.
I hope you would have an opportunity to come to Moscow, and I will definitely show you this fantastic city with a super huge amount of opportunities and places to go.
Look forward to it. Vladislav, thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, chin chin.